else are we waiting?
Uh, Giovanna is the last one we're waiting for, but I think she should be here in a minute. Yeah. I guess, Mr. Santos, we can give a brief background, real quick, of kind of the project that we're working on. We're interviewing someone influential who has gone through some adversity through their life and has made it to a successful point in their career. And we kind of want to learn a bit about that transition. We're students at Merrimack College doing this for a woman and gender studies class, an intro to diversity, sexuality, and gender studies class. And we're just going to ask kind of a few questions about your background. I think maybe we can go, I don't know, one by one on the questions and or make it more of a conversation. But I just want to ask if it's okay for this to be recorded so that we can share this with the professor, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Awesome, thank you. I guess we can go ahead and get started, and Giovanna um, will join here in a minute. But yeah, I think the first kind of question that we want to know is, can you tell us a bit about yourself? We've all done a little look at a little bit of your research and some of your teaching background as a lecturer and professor, and we've seen your transition from Brazil to America, and we just want to know a bit about yourself and your background.
Okay. So my name is Wagner Santos, and right now I'm a professor at North Shore Community College. Here I teach few classes, most of the engineering classes like material science, um, dynamics, statics, physics 1 and 2, and also strength of materials. Also, this year they gave me integrated science that is combined for high the high schoolers that they're gonna learn physics and chemistry in the same year. My background in education is I did chemistry degree in Brazil. That was I have 2 degrees in chemistry. One is for teaching. In Brazil, we have separate degrees for bachelor degrees and the teaching degrees. I earned both, and after that, I did my master and PhD in a nuclear facility institute in Brazil, focused in material science. And of course, I had to learn physics, nuclear physics there, because it was a mandatory like classes that I had to have. Um, I moved to US about 13 years ago in 2012. Yeah, 2012. And I came here. That was a hard transition when I came here because like I had I didn't speak English at all. Jovan, I believe you are Econ. Okay, so I didn't speak English at all, and I had to learn English, and I have all the knowledge, physics and chemistry knowledge, engineering knowledge, and I still play with that. I sometimes I tell my students, if you knew how smart I'm in Portuguese, you should get this advanced. But like that took me a few long time to learn English, but I could achieve a point that I can transfer my knowledge to students. But before that, I had to work and I had to pretty much step down on my career because I was professor already in Brazil with a PhD degree. I came here to US. I had in the beginning I had no immigration status to work. I was moving like in process to change my immigration status that time, and I could get like in 1 year I could get my residence permanence here. But because my English level, I could not get a job in chemistry or colleges or all those fields. So I decided to work in construction for a while. I worked in construction for a few years. Later, I was driving for Uber and Lyft back in 2014, 15. And with that, I got opportunity with Lyft to represent them in recruiting system, and I was doing like mentoring and recruiting for new drivers. So I started a company If you see my curriculum there, you're gonna see a company called Driver Plus App. That company started like in 2015, 16, when I started like recruiting new drivers. And what happened? I was pretty much working a lot full time in the position as a CEO there. But at a certain point, when I was about to get my citizenship interview, I I spoke with my attorney and said, "Hey, I never worked in my field in chemistry or physics or teaching any of those fields." So I asked her, "Should I apply for the immigration?" She said, "Yeah, you should try to find a job because going a little bit back, when I was here, I was planning to change my visa. I don't know if you guys want to make question. Just let me know, okay? I can stop and go back, or if you guys want to continue talking, I can stay here like 10 hours talking straight. I'm a professor, so
Yeah.
so what happened when I got here? My plan, I came in with a visa, I a visitor visa, and I was planning to move it to a student visa. But when I was talking to my lawyer, she said, "Hey, with your background and your degree, you can apply straight to get a resident permanent here." And that was the option that I chose the time and I could get was because I applied for the EB1. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the visa numbers. EB1 is a visa called workers with extraordinary abilities. So that is when you have a high degree. I had to. They gave me 10 items, and I have to prove that I have at least three. And I proved that I have like scientific articles. I received I received like awards for the best work published in Europe, in Brazil. That I was a mentoring, that I had like knowledge outside Brazil, also in US, in Europe. So and with that I could get my green card here. And so getting back there, but like what happened because my and the one of the reason they approved my my green card here was because I had my field, the field that I was studying was nuclear field, and is an interesting field for US. So the US, like they have said, okay, we can give you a residence permanence here, so you can stay here, you can study English, you're gonna learn English at a certain point, and you can provide some your knowledge to the community here. And but like I said, I was working in a different field, totally different than my background. But when I was applying for my citizenship, my attorney recommended me to try at least like a job as a lab assistant or something like that to show, excuse me, to show that I was working my field. And when I started applying for jobs, my background was pretty much straight with corrosion and like more related with airplanes, petroleum, or also automotive. And here in Boston, we have a lot of pharmaceuticals and the biotechnology companies. So it was hard for me to find a job in a lab, even with my background. If it was probably in Texas or Washington, Seattle, probably I could get a job easily because they're gonna be like straight on my field.
And
So and I
um,
start looking
can I
for
ask you a question real quick?
yeah, yeah,
So in Brazil, is it the same thing where certain states and certain areas of Brazil, it's kind of the same thing where, it's very pharmaceutical heavy over there, and then other states, it's more like automotive.
yeah, that we have pretty much the same there. For example, if you are going to more a work for an oil company like a Petrobras, you're gonna probably gonna need to go to Rio de Janeiro or go to Santos. That's the sea of the state of São Paulo. And if you wanna work for automotive companies, you're gonna go for uh, there we call ABC. There's three cities. That is Santo André, São Bernardo, São Caetano. Three cities in São Paulo that is huge for automotive. Most all the automotive companies are there. So if your background is in automotive, you need to go there to work. Probably gonna find jobs there. Of course, there are other companies around the country, but like they also have those. Like here, for example, if you talk about automotive, you're gonna talk about Detroit. If you talk about petroleum, you're gonna talk about Texas. And we don't have like a huge pharmaceutical biotech like here you have in Boston, because I believe it is the number one in the world for pharmaceuticals, Massachusetts. So
How come why did you choose that automotive side of chemistry? Why not the biotech kind of side? What about it interest you more?
so when I was in high school, my I was really good with math, and my what I want to do was physics or mathematics. But like when I was applying to get the college, I saw I did a really search to see how could it work, where could it work, and I saw that if I got a physics degree, my only option would be to be a teacher in a private school or in a public school, and no, there's not a lot of jobs for physics in Brazil with someone with a physics degree. So in the same thing with math. So when I took a look on chemistry, I saw that I could also teach, and also I could work in a company as a pharmaceutical company, or I could also work in any chemistry companies there. So my first job that I got when I was my first semester in college, I got a job in a company that made um, a critical resin for painting. So I was already going to the painting side, corrosion, protection, coating. So I was already going to this side in my first semester. Pretty much was something that I got an internship, and that was my first job as in my field. And but the big jump, the big switch was when I finished my degree. I was teaching already. I was in Brazil. We have a high demand for chemistry teachers, so since my first year, I was teaching already public school. That helped me a lot because that helped me to. In Brazil, we have classes during the night, so I was going to college in the morning, teaching in the night, and for high school. And what happened? That helped me a lot too, because when you are able to teach someone, that means you really learned what you're teaching,
Yeah.
because you must understand to answer question. So, and that helped me a lot during college. I barely studied for college because I need to study to teach. So when I have a test, an exam in the college, for me it was like easy because I already teach that in high school. So that helped me a lot. But when I was finishing my chemistry degree, I was applying to do my master's and applying three institutes in Brazil. I tried the chemistry institute in University of São Paulo, is the number one in America Latina university there. USP, you guys can Google that later. I also applied for the Chemistry Institute in Campinas, Unicamp. You guys can also Google that. Is the second university in Brazil. And my third option was the Nuclear Institute in USP, also in São Paulo. And I did a three testing, and something interesting happened because to get a accept for the Chemistry Institute in São Paulo, I had to get, I believe, 4 points from 10 in the test, and I got a 3.9. And in Campinas was also Chemistry Institute. I had to have 5 points. I got a 4.9. Was point 0.1 again off. And in the Nuclear Institute was even harder for me because was English. What the test was in English, and it was more in physics, and I was just graduating chemistry, so that was hard for me. So I had to get 7 points. I got a 6.9. So all three, I got a point 0.1. I don't know. I don't know if you believe in God, but I'm a believer, and I always seek God for some guidance to see the best pathway to go. And I remember I went to a church that same day when I got the results, and I heard some preaching there, and the preacher said, "I'm gonna change the law in your favor." And I felt something, but like I said, I'm not seeking any change in law. Why is God is talking to me about that? A week later, I got an email from the Nuclear Institute saying, "Hey, we had a meeting. We changed the bylaw inside the school, and your score is acceptable for to start the master." And then when I got accepted, I did interview with a few professors there, and the professor that accepted me was a professor straight with corrosion. So that's why now all my master and PhD, my specialty was in corrosion, focus in automotive or nuclear or aerospace.
And I know that you made a paint, right? It was like a self-healing paint.
Mhm.
Um,
So that was my master and PhD thesis. What happened when I got out there in my master? My professor showed me some options for research, and she said we have a research with aluminum alloys using airplanes or nuclear reactors, and you have also steel, galvanized steel that use automotive. And I pick aluminum. I said, "Oh, I'm gonna do this one here because no one is doing. I'm gonna do this one." And I stay in the lab testing many different combinations for chemicals there. I remember during my master degree, I did a I did a how do you say, I did a combination. I was testing a lot of chemicals, and I did variables. All the variables in combination was 112 combinations, different combinations for testing the painting that was on top of aluminum alloy using airplanes. And the one of those combinations showed a good protection, corrosion protection. And this protection was competing with what we have today as chromium 6. There's a good corrosion protection for aluminum alloys called chromium 6. And this chromium 6 has a property that if you do um, a defect, like a dent in a painting, the oxygen reacts with the chromium and the self-healing that. But that is already in the marketing. We are using that. But there's one problem. Chromium 6 is that they cause cancer. If I believe you guys, there's a movie about a company that was doing leather treatment. They use chromium 6. You guys can Google later.
is it the one with John Travolta?
Yeah, this
It's
one.
based in Woburn.
Yeah, so it was based in Auburn, and what happened? This company was using Cremin 6 to treat the leather, and they got a leaking in the water, and this caused caused cancer, and they got like big trouble. The company, and this is just a background to guys understand why it's so important to replace the Cremin 6. And the coating that I found, so my pretty much my master degree was testing different coatings. And when I found one that got a good results and also had some self-healing properties, I got in my PhD. I went deep to understand the coating. Pretty much, the coating is a conversion. We have like, imagine this is aluminum alloy, and what happened? We treat this aluminum alloy with some Syrian solution that is going to grow a aluminum oxide on the top of the surface, and the inside this aluminum oxide will be some nanospheres, like nanometer spheres, with zero inside. And what happened when you make a cut in the coating here? When you make a cut in the coating, you're gonna also cut these nanospheres, and when the nanosphere open, they're gonna release the cerium, and the cerium will react with oxygen, and they're gonna close back. So I also discovered a new self-healing property with a coating that do not cause cancer. So because this because this work this discover I received three prizes for the best work in Brazil, Europe, two in Brazil, one in Europe, and those was some prize that I used when I applied for my visa here in US.
And what's the process like? Um, you patented this, and then what's the process like of renewing the patent? Is that now that you patented it in Brazil, when you came to America, is it like the same thing? It transfers over.
So I was planning to apply for a patent there, but the bureaucracy in Brazil is huge. Was gonna take was gonna take probably over 10 years to approve, and I could not publish any article about that. So I decided to not patent that. And now that I'm getting back in the professor field, my career goals is to become a professor in a research institute or found a company, start a new company that I can patent that here in US. So there's no patent on that. I know it's a risk, and then I'm carrying this risk now.
Do you think it's easier here in America to patent something than it is in Brazil?
I I did my research to check. I think it's easier, but it's also expensive here. Probably gonna expand you over I don't know 20, 50K here.
Wow.
All the process because they need to hire an attorney and they bring on everything, do again, do the testings.
I have a question
Yes.
about, yeah, I know you said you're interested in becoming a professor at a research university. Can you talk a little bit about how that process is going for you and maybe how getting your PhD in Brazil maybe affects that process of becoming an accredited professor at at a university in the US?
So what happened? I was already teaching in Brazil. Like I said, my first year in college, I get hired by the public school to become a teacher. And I was teaching there during my master degree. I started teaching community college in Brazil, and later I was teaching like as a Jackson professor in a college there too, like night classes. So pretty much in Brazil, we don't have a lot of options for who do like a PhD to work. It's different than here. From here, if you have probably master degree here is now is gonna become the new bachelor degree. Is my view. If you don't have like 20 years ago, if you don't have a bachelor degree, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be harder to get a job. I think those days master degree is the 20 degrees, 20 years ago bachelor degrees for today. And because that, I become a professor in Brazil. And when I moved here, I had two options. I had to do a license testing to get my degree here, my license for teaching here in the high school. But like the testing must be in English, and that was an issue for me in the beginning when I got here, because my English level, I knew chemistry, I knew physics, but like my English was not enough to get the testing. And what happened during the COVID-19 pandemic? What happened? I because like we had a shortage for teachers. All the governments, all states, they open a emergency licensing, saying, "Hey, if you have a degree, a validated degree here, a bachelor degree, you can start teaching without a license, not without a license, without doing the testing with emergency license." And what I did, I got all my diplomas there from bachelor degrees, teacher license, master and PhD, and I validate my degree here. There are companies here, they do validation. They compare the courses you took there, the course you take here, and they say, oh, this is the same as the bachelor degree here. And I got a company that did that for me. They did the validation of my diploma there, and they said, oh, the same level of knowledge he has is equivalent to a bachelor degree here, master, PhD. When you go over after graduate, like master and PhD, They don't ask more for those validation because it's a master. You are a specialist in your field. If you have a PhD, you discover something new that probably no one did. So you are a specialist in your field. There's not a lot of comparison. It's more about the knowledge you bring. You can bring it to the field. But the bachelor degree, they do this equivalence certification. So I did that, and the 3 years ago, like I was saying, when I was about to get my citizenship here, I decided to apply for jobs, and the first job that I got was teaching chemistry in Everett High School, and I stayed there for 2 years. And after that, I was already teaching night classes in the community college here, and I got a job position in for full time here in the North Shore Community College.
So you mentioned that you taught both here, you just said in the Everett High School, and then also in Brazil. How do you find the professional environment to be different between the two places?
Okay, so the environment. Let's talk about structure. Here in US, you have so much better structure for school. If we take a look here, the high school, there's more structure, more at least the high school where I works. I don't know all the high schoolers, but like I know high school in Everett is a good school, and kind of it's pretty much the high school here is pretty much a private school in Brazil. The level of structure, the level of knowledge, I think the private school in Brazil has so much more knowledge level than here. Because what happened there, most of the people, they want to do the public college in Brazil or the public university, because the public university are the best one. You don't pay to go to university there, but the SAT testing, the equivalent SAT testing there is so hard to pass. So because that's so hard, the private schools, they prepare those students to pass those SAT testing for those best universities. So because that, I was teaching private school there also. So the knowledge, for example, I was teaching middle school in a private school there for seventh grade, eighth grade. The same level I was teaching there, seventh grade, was the same level I was teaching junior in high school here. So the knowledge for to be accepted in a college is higher than here, but the structure here is better.
With the same thing going on of how it was like teaching in Brazil and how it was teaching here, what did you think? What do you think of like the professional environment? Um, Especially like when you taught in Brazil, and kind of just like the stigma of, I feel like there's always like a stigma when you speak and you speak with an accent, and like in Brazil that's just normal, you're just one of the professors, like it's all the same. But here in America, like what is like the professionalism like when your English isn't your first language?
Okay, so for me, my my big concern that I took so long to come back teaching was exactly that, my accent. Like I said, those today I tell jokes to my students, like, do you know Sophia from the Modern Family? She said, "Oh, she's smart in Spanish. I'm smart in Portuguese." So I tell the same joke because I know the subject in Portuguese, and sometimes my brain, not sometimes, my brain is in Portuguese. I'm talking to you guys now. My brain translates everything that I'm saying so quickly, and sometimes I mix the words. But what happened? Uh, I when I got out there in high school, because Everett is a huge community for Latinos and Brazilians, I felt like the students are so respectful to me with my accent, because a lot of students come to me later and said, hey, professor, they call me doctor there. Hey, Dr. Santos, I see you speaking. I know you're sometimes your accent, you say something wrongly, but like I gotta, because my parents do the same with me at home. So I think they see in me some reflection of their parents trying to get like a better job, trying to get a better life for them, and that was helpful a lot. That's helped me a lot. And the in college is the same. North Shore Community College is a school that we have pretty much we are a second language learners here. We have a lot of Latino community here, but not a lot of Brazilian as a high school, but we have a lot of people from other countries here with accent. And here in the high school, most of the teachers there were like native speakers. Here in college, I see more, more people from other countries teaching here, and that is embracing. So that is something that is helping because we're not ashamed. Like, and the one thing that also helping me a lot, and they also actually help the students when they see a professor, a teacher speaking with accent. If they are also English learners, they're not gonna be afraid to speak it up because they say, "Oh, my teacher has accent. I can have accent too." And if, to be true with you, I wanna improve my English, yes, but I don't want to lose my accent because for me that is my identity. I want every time I want someone to know that I'm not I know more than one language.
That's really nice to hear. I feel like most people they when they come here they hate their accent. They don't want people to know that they have an
No, I
accent.
love I love my accent, and I want to keep. And even if I learn English better, I'm gonna keep forcing my accent.
I have another question on the topic of your accent and
Mhm.
speaking. Have you had any issues or any pushback or anyone who's given you a hard time because of your accent outside of the education area or of academia? Just living in the U.S. Is that can you do you have that experience?
In the beginning, really, like I believe the first year, I had some pushbacks, and it was more like trying to communicate in the street, and someone just okay, forget it. I have no idea what you're trying to say, and you just turned it back to me. That was like some frustration, but like I understand. Like that's of course, if it was me, if someone in Brazil trying to speak Portuguese, I would be trying to do I don't know anything to try to help someone. But like I got this happened for me once when I went to to Buffalo, close to Niagara's Fall, and I was asking, I believe it was a convenience store where was like the station or something like that, and the guy could not understand. I tried to speak in Spanish, and he said, no, only English, and that's it. So I need to ask another person. But like that, I didn't have a lot of bad experience here. Massachusetts is really, really good state because I believe because the colleges, many colleges we have here, university, come people from everywhere to do schooling here. I believe that make that make difference from accepting other people accents or of course if I'm taking like a public speaking classes to better my communication skills. But like yeah, I didn't have like a lot of bad. I have some funny stories like I can tell you. For example, I remember when I was delivering pizza. That time you pay the pizza by phone with the credit card, and I was getting the slip for to to the people to sign, and because I could read in English but I could not speak. I a lot of time I was saying, "Hey, can you sing here, please?" And everyone was signing. They got a. I gave a pen, a paper, and they signed. Until one day, I got a guy that I delivered pizza, and I said, "Can you sing here, please?" I said, "What kind of music you want me to sing?" I said, "Oh, come on, fast, fast." Okay, I said, "Okay, hip hop is fast music." And I said, "No, man." And they said, "Oh, wait a minute. I know you're asking me to sign, but you are saying sing. Sing is a music." And after that, that was something that I remember. I never did the same mistake again. But like, yeah, I also got like a Dunkin' Donuts coffee with orange juice, I don't know how I got at that, but like they give me on the drive-through, but like because I asked for Oreo, and the Oreo in Brazil we say audio, and she understood orange for some reason, and she put like orange juice in my coffee, so that was bad.
Yeah.
How would you say the experience is different from America to Brazil of like accepting like other people that come from a different country? Would you say that Brazil is very like if somebody comes there and they don't speak any Portuguese at all and they come in, the Brazilian people are super happy to help, whereas like America is like, oh no, like if you're not saying it right.
Uh, I think like in Brazil, they're gonna learn they're gonna learn Portuguese faster than Brazilian or another immigrant here learning English here. Why? Because they don't have they like usually they must work with the Brazilians. And here in US, I see a lot of immigrants. They stay close inside the community. They work with Brazilians, work with Brazilians, Latino work for Latinos. They just shop with Brazilians. They if they want to buy a car, they're gonna buy a car for Brazilian. If they want to go to a mechanic, they're gonna go to a mechanic Brazilian. If they could find like a doctor to go to the hospital that speak Portuguese, they're gonna try. And that facility, I believe, that hold people from learning another language. And in Brazil, I believe, for example, few people only speak English in Brazil. It's not like here, for example, most of the high schoolers they took like Spanish as a second language during high school, or French or another language. So a certain point you can have like at least a base communication. In Brazil, no, we have English classes, but like it's just a verb to be, and we don't learn English at all. So and because that we're gonna try to help, but we're gonna try to help teach them Portuguese. And we are Brazilians. We like to make jokes, so we're gonna enjoy that timing, make jokes. So if asking them to say something funny in Portuguese, everyone will laugh, and they're gonna learn faster because they don't want to be like being make funny of them. So yeah, I know it looks like a bully, but like we like to do those jokes.
Yeah. As I have a question, as a professor right now, what is some advice you would give to students who are, going into their academic career, who may want to go in and do post bachelor's work and go down the research route, much like
Okay,
yourself. What advice would you give to students?
okay. The first thing I would advise is to I love research, so I love research. Research is the difference between research and the workforce over there. Research every day is something new. Every day you have something new to do. You have to discover something new, and that is fascinating me. And if I need to advise someone that want to plan to go to research, I would recommend to start reading some articles, participate in some conferences or events where you're gonna see people presenting papers, presenting, discovering, and try to find something you like, because you must do something you really like. If you do like master and PhD together, is gonna be another. For me, it was 12 years. Oh, college, master, PhD was an extra 12 years of studying. So you don't want to do something you expend another 12 years and then later say, oh, I don't like what I did. So try to find something you like, read some papers, and they go to some conference, and they try to find a partner, a mentor to help you.
Um, I have a question.
Yes.
So, what like type of advice would you give to somebody kind of in your shoes, like trying to come to America and either teach or get a job? Like, do you have any like shortcuts or little things for people to do, like to have a better experience, like easy experience to transition or something like that?
Hmm. Yeah. The first thing I would recommend is to see if this professional or professor, doesn't matter which field you are, if they are able to validate their diploma here, because this is important. For example, in chemistry, chemistry is chemistry everywhere. Doesn't matter if it's written Chinese, Portuguese, English, is chemistry. Carbon is carbon, hydrogen is hydrogen. That's it. Numbers, number are numbers. So for me, in my field, it was easier to validate my diploma here. I know, for example, some fields like medical field, nursing, or law. Those fields are kind of. Give me a second. Those fields are kind of uh, a little bit different. So, for example, I know if you have a law degree in Brazil and you want to get validate your diploma here, you're gonna need to study the U.S. Constitution. So the first thing I would recommend someone is planning to validate a certification from another country is check what you're missing. Are you able to validate your whole diploma, or you're gonna need to do some extra courses, extra classes to validate your diploma? So that would be the first advice. And the second one, try to learn as much English as possible. That is important.
Yeah.
What else?
Um, what was like first starting out? What was your biggest like inspiration to either just do what you do or like how you did it, and then to come over to America? What is your inspiration now? Like, what is your biggest inspiration now, and how did it change from then to now?
Okay, so I have my family. I have a background for teachers. My dad was a history teacher. My mom was Portuguese teacher. My brother was biology teacher. So my uncle was a history teacher. So I have like some teachers in my family. My sister, my younger sister, she's a early education teacher. So I think I was inspired by them to become a teacher. And but like when I was doing my bachelor degrees and they started doing that, I was the first one to get a high degree in my family. When I was getting those opportunity, that was inspiration for me to start a new level for the family. No one in my family got a master degree before, neither a PhD. I was the first one. And after me now, I see some inspiration for cousins or other people in the family trying to do. Here in US, the one thing that inspired me to doing what I do is I really believe I have a mission here on earth. That is, knowledge cannot be like locked down. Knowledge, when you have knowledge, I think you must pass over or pass by. You must to transfer that knowledge. If we could get like a pen drive like that, connect here, transfer to you, would be amazing. I would be rich because I got a boop, okay, chemistry, physics, that's it. But the only way to teach to transfer this knowledge today is by teaching. And I really believe in my mission is that I can change. I cannot. I will not say I can change the world, but I can send some students' world, and I can send some student life by transfer my knowledge to them. So my inspiration is that I know I could make more money going to companies there, working as a researcher there, but I believe that timing that I was planning to be a millionaire or like be rich, I believe it is over for me now. Not that I don't wanna, but like I don't have those goals more. My goal now is, oh, I have a family. I want to take care of my family. I want to transfer my knowledge, and yeah, pretty much that is what inspired me.
And I know you said you believe in God. How's your faith tying to what you do, and like how does that kind of drive you?
Yeah, so that is what a lot of people ask me. How can a scientist believe in God? To be true, I believe God was the first scientist ever. That is my belief. For example, as much as I study more, I see there's no way, there's no way to everything that we have become from nothing. For me, that is so hard because like if you study the Lavoisier law, they say nothing can be created, nothing can be destroyed, everything must be transformed. Should the universe, everything you have, should be to start at a certain point, we're gonna have like a paradox. If we start thinking, oh, it was a Big Bang, two hydrogen atoms, and now where they come from those atoms? Somewhere. Oh, another universe, another Big Bang. We're gonna at a certain point we're gonna have a loop and a paradox we cannot solve. And I know there's some explanation there in physics, but for me, it's so much clear. It's clear that we must have something, intelligence mind that design everything. Because, for example, if you have like 1 degree difference, or in gravity, in inclination of the Earth, or the gravitation force on the universe, a little bit of difference there, there will be a mass here in the universe. So, or if the planet was like a little bit hotter or colder, we cannot live here. So, and that is, I also pass that to my students. I say, hey, I'm going to teach you astronomy. I'm going to teach you gravitational laws. I'm going to teach you the Big Bang. But like for me, that just prove that some people call that is universe. Some people call it mother nature. I call that God because must be some designer there, a designer. And I don't mind what people call, but I call this design as a God. So I don't have a conflict. Actually, they validate my faith.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I think we're just about at time, and I really appreciate you sitting here and talking to us about your lived experiences and your faith and your work and your career in academia. I hope the best, and I hope you're able to get that position at that research university.
Yeah, thank you guys. It was a pleasure. Sorry about my accent. I try my
It's
best,
great.
and I'm gonna continue trying.
You sound
So
good.
That
Thank
was
you.
perfect. Thank
Thank
you.
thank
you for
you,
your time.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
Thank
much.
you.
thank you. Bye bye. Good luck
Bye.
with the project.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thanks so much. Bye.